please welcome Benjamin Soemartopo. He will be talking about applying artificial intelligence to telecom data to deliver ROI at scale. Sir, please continue.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hello, everyone. Very pleased to be able to meet you today virtually. I hope everybody is safe. What I want to share with you today is our experience in how to deliver ROI at scale by unlocking the value of the data which mobile operators have and using AI. If you look at telecom operators around the world, they're experiencing exponential growth in the data which they're processing. And you can see as well here in the Middle East, the numbers. This is the total data which mobile phone operators are processing per year in exabytes. And you can see back in 2012, it was only about 1 to 2 exabytes that were being processed, right? Starting in 2017, and really with the advent of smartphones, and in particular Chinese smartphones that enter the market, and everyone starts to have a smartphone, you start to see the lift in the volume of data. And this is also tied to the 4G networks. And so in the last 4 years, we've seen almost a 30x growth in the volume of data, right, that's being processed by the mobile operators to today be at around 60 exabytes. This exponential growth will continue over the next 5 years. And just as 4G starts to slow down in its growth, 5G will kick off the next curve. So operators today are processing a massive amount of data compared to what they were used to over the last 30 years. Now, as people say, data's the new oil. And there's a lot of value in this data. However, like crude oil, which I'm sure our Saudi patriots will understand, needs processing in order for it to be valuable. You can see here on the left-hand side, the value of a barrel of crude oil is, and this is an earlier slide of $62, even today it's say $30 to $40. That's the crude oil, but if you process it, turn it into racing fuel, it becomes $1,000 a barrel. Similarly, air fuel, jet fuel, other products have much more value. So the same applies to telecom data. You need to be able to process it to unlock the value of the data that exists, that's being processed by the mobile operators in the same way that the oil processors process the data. Now, how do we do that? This is a very good quote from Andrew Ng, who was the founder of Coursera, also chief scientist at Baidu, and that AI is the new electricity, right? I'm speaking to a conference of AI experts, and so I'm sure you're more familiar with Andrew's work, right? So similarly, the way you unlock the value of the data that the operators process is by applying AI, right? And turning that oil and into electricity and energy. Now, how have operators fared so far in unlocking this value? You can see here, this is a very recent report from Gartner that looked at how telcos are unlocking the value of AI in the 5G era. And the answer is with difficulty. Right, as you can see here, their experience around the world working with mobile operators is that most of the projects are sitting still in proof of concept purgatory, right, or naraka, right? They're still stuck, not delivering the value which is targeted and not being applied across the whole customer base or at scale. And you can see here some of the key challenges that operators face in doing this. And this matches with the experience that we've seen in dealing with multiple operators, right? Is that there's a high investment required. There's a lot of data scientists of the operators getting randomized by business, right? And many needs, and everything's done in a custom and bespoke way. So one of the solutions that we've seen that successful operators have been able to apply is focusing on products and software as a way of unlocking this value. Right, and here you can see on the right-hand side 5 key elements that have driven success. The first is on the platform side, having a scalable Hadoop platform, right, that can increase and process this data. Now, everybody's been building out Cloudera, Hortonworks data platforms, but what do you do once you've installed these platforms and spent all the money in the CapEx? This is really the key to success, is turning the data into products and applying software. That software can be developed either in-house by the telcos if they've got a software development team, working with third-party vendors that can bring in the software, or working even with ecosystem partners, right, and other business partners that bring software that can integrate. So that's the key to success, and that's what will allow you to deliver ROI, right, both internally as well as externally in partnerships. Best practice we've seen also combines the telco data with other third-party data, right, to augment the telecom data, either from the banking industry or the retail industry, so it strengthens and reinforces the value of the telecom data. And finally, one challenge, but also is a benefit for the operators, is GDPR and data privacy. As you tap into this data, you need to be very mindful of the policies and privacy regulations, but at the same time, the window is shutting on the internet world around people being accessed and to use data. So it puts the operators in a privileged position to be able to use their data and the customer's data with their consent in a privacy compliant way. So that's some of our learnings on the key success factors to unlock the value at scale. You can see here an overall high-level business architecture, right, on how this can be done. Is deploying building a platform inside the operator's data center, either on-prem or in the cloud or in a hybrid cloud on-prem environment, bringing in and processing the data, ensuring that there's a privacy shield to make sure that the data is encrypted and anonymized, so no PII data has the potential to be exposed, and then enriching, processing the data, turn it into products, and then using those products both for internal use as well as for partnerships with external operators. So these are some of the key elements we've seen that successful operators have unlocked. If you look at what are the internal use cases, right, for using the telecom data, you can see here, this is a list of under the different functions that exist within the operator, how AI and software can actually unrealize the value of the data, right? So personalized marketing, customer service, credit scoring as a product internally to allow more upsell or cross-sell, using it for network management and network planning. All of these are areas that the operator can deploy software to realize the value of their data internally. So that's on the internal side. On the external side is looking at how you can work with partners to both enable a new revenue stream, but also strengthen your core business by working with these partners to bring value to your customer base. You can see here a list of potential use cases that software can be applied to with the different level of complexity. And this applies across government as well as enterprise, right, on how the telecom operators can realize the value. So there's some examples of internal and external use. Now, as I mentioned, often operators are building this themselves or they're running bespoke models. They hire a data science team internally. You can see here what happens to the time of the data scientists, right? Typically, 60% is just spent on cleaning and organizing the data, right? And then a further 20% is organizing the data sets. So the value-adding time of data scientists typically is only available for about 10% of their time, right? 10 to 15%. Where they're actually working on the mining, looking for the patterns, right, and refining the models. So that's where the platform is critical to be able to engineer and bring in the data in a standardized way to enable the data scientists to realize their value. Now, where is that value in the data? We have seen there's 4 key sectors where the data has specific value, right? The first around mobile operator data is the audience demographics, in particular because you've got first-person registrations, age, gender of subscribers. The second is the location data. Location data is always on because the phone's always signaling. So it provides you a very rich location data set. The third data set is the online behavior. So not only you get the offline movement of people, but you also get their online behavior, apps, websites, and all of this, particularly with increased digitization and after COVID, is seeing the driving of behavior towards online. Final areas around financial behavior, the data which the operators get around people spending on the phone and the type of handset they have are all rich indicators of a person's financial position. So this is the value in the data which the operators sit on, and as we talked about earlier, is growing exponentially. So how do you unlock this? I'll share with you some examples of different software that can be applied and how this works in practice, right, to realize the value. So against these 4 areas of audience intelligence, location, online behavior, and financial credit scoring, different products have been developed which turn this data into software and enable internal use as well as external. So I'll switch and show you a short demonstration of the types of software that can be run. So if you think about credit scoring, using mobile operator data, you can, using prepaid customers' phone number and their behavioral data, create the equivalent of a FICO score or a credit score, right? So you enter in the subscriber phone number, click submit, comes back with a credit score, right? And this enables the customer to get access to finance, particularly those with a thin file or not a long credit history. This enables them to access loans and insurance products and really brings them into the formal financial sector. Similarly, the operators can use this data for their own device financing plans, right, for 3G to 4G conversion, which still represents a large segment of the customer base, and also for pre to postpaid conversion. And finally, they can monetize this by working with banks and external parties to sell the score to them as a service. So that's one example of how data can be turned into software and realized value. Second areas we looked at was location data, right? So you can look at Pinpoint and actually look at different areas of the city and identify how many people are in different areas. And this is at an aggregated basis. You're not looking at any personal information. So I'll show you a simulation of how this could work in Saudi Arabia, in Riyadh. So you can look at across the city. This is red represents a lot of movement, yellow represents light movement, green is stay at home. All right, so you can see here across the city, how are people moving, right? And particularly given what we've seen with the curfews and movement restrictions following COVID, now people returning back to work, which areas are opening up, right? Where are people starting now to travel? So because the airports are opening, you start to see movement, so you can start to measure that. Brands and companies can start to see, okay, where they should be reopening their stores. For the mobile operator, they can be looking at their placements. And then similarly, you can look at different points of interest across the city, right? So you can look at shopping malls. You can say, okay, are people coming back to the shopping malls? How many people are coming back, right? And what's the trends in terms of time of day? And how does that compare across different shopping malls across the city? So these are some of the examples of how telecom data can be used for location intelligence. And this again can be applied both internally for the operators as they look at their distribution network and their dealers, and also working with third parties, right, that would like to see this type of census level coverage. So that's an example of location intelligence. If we look at the third area which I raised, which is around online intelligence, you're able to see across different categories like e-commerce, ride-hailing, music, insurance, what people are surfing and using as apps, and you can see the respective share of different apps, right? Which again allows your partners and enterprise partners to be able to increase their share of the digital online behavior of the customer base. The finally is how you bring all of this together into a unified view of the subscriber base, right? And so here, slice and dice tools, which allow you to put the subscriber base at your fingertips. Like you can see here, 20,000 example subscribers based on ARPU and device type. And then you've got many different fields that you can start to slice and dice the customer base to identify segments for market research, or if the user consent to actually run advertising campaigns, right? And this is where, again, using AI, we can look at labeling engines and see based on against the advertising IAB taxonomy, what categories of people are interested in. All right, you can see on the left-hand side here, like beauty and fashion or banking, automotive, and identify segments of customers that are interested in that category and do more research around that. So that's an example of how you can really tap into the telecom data which exists and bring this together into one integrated platform and software to unlock the value. So in summary, what we've seen as we've worked across our different operators around the world is the key to unlocking the value of their data is scale, right? And you only achieve scale by bringing software, turning your data into products which can then be used both internally by business teams and democratizing access to the data, as well as working with third parties that can leverage these products and increase their relationship with you. So that's a summary of Eureka's learnings and our experience working with telecom data. I'll pause there for any questions people may have. Thank you.
Hello, attendees can unmute themselves for any questions.
Okay, no questions around this? Maybe Fatima, have you seen anything from your experience working with mobile operators on, does any of this resonate with your experience?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for the nice presentation. I think it is prayer time. That's why people probably are a little bit busy. So, however, we have good attendee with you. And I think your presentation is really excellent. And I like the way of introducing AI into the whole frame of dealing with data and the connectivity between telecom and the necessity of implementing the different techniques here. And when it comes to location, when it comes to signals, when it comes to software processes, it's really great. So probably a question that would raise itself. Where have you presented or implemented your platform internationally?
Yeah. Okay, great. Thanks, Fatma, for that feedback. Yeah, so we actually started between the US and Asia in terms of building our software. So our tech team's based in the US, and we started in Indonesia, actually, with 250 million customers or population. So we started in Indonesia. We've now rolled out across Southeast Asia, so Malaysia, Thailand, Singapore. We've also deployed in India, South Asia. We're rolling out currently across the Middle East into Saudi Arabia, UAE, Bahrain, and now we're also expanding into Africa, South Africa and Kenya, as well as into Europe as well. Yeah, so we've seen following mobile operators, and the beauty of the telecom industry is that it has a global network, right? So you can really follow the data across the world. Yeah, so that's our experience to date.
This is fascinating. And is it possible to use the platform or the AI resources available in the platform for different applications as well?
Yes, yeah. So everything is containerized, right? So we use Docker, Kubernetes, right, to basically have subcomponents inside the platform, and then they can be deployed and utilized by an operator for different uses. Yeah. So, for example, our label engine, right, and our feature engine are actually, either labeling people's behavior, right, as we saw earlier, to classify them across an IAB taxonomy. The feature engine is extracting because there's massive amounts of data, right, to turn that data into features. So we've got a feature library of 5,000 features at the core level, and they can be permutated. And then again, that feature library can be used by data scientists, right, to build different models. So we've turned everything into individual components, which can then be utilized for multiple purposes.
This is fascinating. Is it possible to see something practical maybe next time where we can organize together a workshop, a practical workshop?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we can include some of our technologists in that, right? And they can go a bit more into the depths around data science and look at some of these components, right? And how they can be engineered as well as applied.
Do you see any possibility for you cooperating with AI Society?
Definitely, yes, we'd be very excited. Yeah, I think one thing I didn't share at the beginning, but Tariq Naim is our CTO. He's based in Seattle. He was actually he's a technical fellow of Microsoft. right? So there's only 18 across Microsoft, right? And he, Bill Gates nominates you as a fellow. So he has 35 patents and really focused in Microsoft on AI and building out AI systems, particularly around big data monetization. So under him, we've got our team of data scientists and engineers. So we'd be delighted to partner with the AI Society and just see how we can, share knowledge, right, and bring that to the kingdom to help Saudi's development. So very excited how we could collaborate.
Thank you very much. This is so nice of you. I think we will take that into consideration, and we really appreciate the time, the great presentation, and we look forward for more collaboration. Thank you very much.
Okay, shukran. Thank you very much.
Shukran.
Okay, great. Any other questions or comments?
As Madam Fatima said, this is the prayer time. That's why they are not available. And anyhow, I think we can wind up here.
Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, Mr. Benjamin Soemartopo, for presenting such an interesting topic. Our next section will be at 1 o'clock. We welcome all our participants to join us there. Thank you.